Hey
everybody, thanks for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else, and what I would like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and titan for this episode, Brian Maecker. Brian, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Sorry I'm late, but thanks for having me.
You're good. Business is what it is, and time is that too. So I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a super busy guy. I know everybody out there is super excited about this episode. So let's just dive in, I guess, to the series of questions that we kind of go through and ask every featured titan to get a window into who is Brian, what really makes you tick, and that sort of thing. So I guess tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
I've been selling for getting ready to start 32 years.
Wow.
Started in 1986. Part-time. I left King Soopers. I was a King Soopers produce clerk, produce manager in the day.
Wow.
And bought my first house when I was 19 years old. And from there I bought and sold rentals. And today, I've been married for 25 years, have two sons, 30 and 22.
Okay.
And enjoy, when I'm not selling homes, I play golf, I teach karate. I'm a 4th degree black belt in karate.
Get out of here. Everybody watch out for that.
And I teach karate 2 nights a week, and we hike in our spare time. So
that's beautiful.
Try to have some balance.
Okay. Well, going into the real estate portion of that too, I mean, 19 years old, buying your first place. What was that? I mean, what got you into the business that way?
Well, basically, I heard that buying a rental would be a good idea, and it wasn't so much that. I got in a car crash, and I got $2,600 from the car crash.
Wow.
So I took 1,000 of it and bought a little beater car, and took the other 1,500, and in those days houses were only $40,000.
Unreal.
So that was in 1980.
Okay.
So I bought a little home in Cimarron Hills, and the people were having a home built, so I rented it.
Wow.
And I was renting it for $600 a month. My payment was $300 a month, and I go, this is pretty cool.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I kept that, and I never moved into it. They decided they kept it for a year, rent back from me, and I go, well, this is kind of neat. So I sold that one and bought a duplex over on the west side. Wow. And I was doubling my money on that, and then I took money from that and bought a townhome and bought a gym business from when I used to be a weightlifter, and so I just kind of multiplied it. And then at King Soopers, I realized that was a dead-end job, so a guy named Alan Willoughby, who's now at Shields.
Hey Alan, if you're watching,
Alan,
how are you?
Alan said, oh, this is easy. Instead of me selling, why don't you get into it? Because he was helping me with him and the guy named Bill Crapo were helping me with my first several homes.
Unreal.
So they were Mitchell graduates from the day, so we were all Mitchell guys back in the 70s.
It's such a big, small town, though, right? I mean, Colorado Springs, it's so bizarre, but a good thing.
It's been a good thing. It's really helped my business over the years.
Okay.
Being a local guy.
Yeah, and that's a testament to you and your brand, and obviously it speaks for itself, and you definitely...
it's been based on referrals.
Okay.
Everything I've done over the years. Last year I've ran 90% referrals throughout my career.
That's huge. Yeah. And obviously the other professionals out there know this, but other consumers that might be watching this, that's a testament to you and what you do. Repeat business is everything. If you weren't doing a good job, they wouldn't be coming back.
Right. Yeah. And we strive to do a good job. That's part of what motivates us.
Well, okay, so that's a beautiful tale. This was great, Brian. This is great. Okay. So about your why, what motivates you, what drives you, what really brings you to the level that you do this at?
I'm about winning. I want to win at what I do. I want my clients to win. I want my coworkers to win. When I do well, my team does well. And when I'm doing well, my clients do well. And when the clients do well, I do well.
Sure.
So our motivation, and it's pretty much what we're working with our clients, I'm not just after that particular sale. I'm trying to do a good enough job so I can work with them 5 and 7 years from now when they go to buy their next home.
Beautiful.
Many of our clients, there's a handful that I've worked with 4 and 5 and 6 times, and with their kids. Wow. Some of them are grandparents, so it's been kind of interesting.
Unbelievable. Seeing the generations.
Yeah, having the 2 and 3 levels of family doing it. So that's rewarding.
Okay.
we're working with a young lady right now, and we're helping her find a home. And I worked with her grandma.
Wow.
And so her grandma referred the parents referred their daughter, and here we are.
Unbelievable. And again, continuous through your representation out there to people, that speaks volumes. And a big part of your why is your people.
Yes.
And everybody. So it's friends, it's family, it's your support staff. I mean, you're not doing this alone, Brian, and that's what's so exciting.
No, I have a small team. My team consists of 2 administration, and I have 2 buyer agents.
Okay.
And we've ran lean and mean for years.
Wow.
Last year we did 186 transactions with just us.
Wow.
And
that's a lot, just so everybody knows out there. If you don't understand that, that's a lot of numbers. For sure.
Our best year we've done 235 with that. But that's with a small team, and it's based on referrals and follow up with clients and the way I work my database.
Okay, so that's and a lot touching into your why. I think it again continually speaks volumes to what you do, is caring and giving back. And it's not just, I don't want anybody to be confused. You're not on this particular show because of the volume. It's your morals, your ethics, your drive.
Well, thank you.
It's not just production. Being a Titan is really all of it.
Well, thanks.
It's your brand and out there. So I mean, it doesn't hurt that your production's out there, but you know what I'm saying. It's just, I think that's important for everybody to take away from this. So I think this is a good tale into your systems and things along those lines. So if you could go back, Brian, just kind of in your time frame thus far into your career, and if you could look back and pick or choose maybe 1 or 2 things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next, what would that be? I mean, anybody out there watching?
Well, the first thing I did that really amplified my business, there used to be a program called Sweat Hogs. The person the closest to it is the Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry program.
Okay.
They're the closest to it. In the day, back in the 80s, no, that would have been late 80s, early 90s, I cold called. I made 100 calls a day.
Wow.
And I couldn't get off the phone until I had a certain amount of points. And we used a penalty system that if I didn't make my calls, that I had to pay a penalty to somebody. And when I first started doing that, this will make a lot of you laugh. If I didn't make my calls, I had to pay $100 to my ex-wife's boyfriend.
Wow.
So needless to say, that was a heavy penalty, and I didn't miss any of my calls. So
that's huge motivation right there.
It is. So I went from doing 35, 40 transactions to 100 to 130, 140. And the year I met my wife, I did 110 transactions with me and 1 assistant. And that's when I go, I need a buyer assistant to help me with some of this, because that was in the day we didn't have internet. We didn't have email contracts. We had faxes, and we had to run around, so it was quite heavy.
Sure.
Then to polish that off, Howard Britton, I was a follower of Howard Britton and Star Power.
Wow.
And they taught me systems, systems to handle everything we do. We have color-coded folders for whether it's a listing, whether it's a buyer. We have a checklist that we implement, and we have manuals back there that if I have a new employee, they can look at the manual and know everything that we have to do.
Wow.
And then we follow a system. We have a system for how we pick up the phone, how we do our pre-list call, how we do a pre-list, how we do a list, how we do a buyer meeting, how we do a buyer call, how I follow up with the prospecting, and then the questions that are asked when we get those calls.
Detail oriented, just a little bit, right?
So we have a system pretty much for everything.
Okay.
And I've been the type, or I've learned over the years, that generally if there's a mistake or something bad happens, it's generally not the person, it's the system.
Okay.
Usually the system. Now, if the system's not being followed by the person, then it's a person thing. But if it's most of the time we found it was a system flaw. Okay. And then we implement a step to make sure that system takes place.
Wow. But that's big advice for everybody out there to try to scale their business and take it up a level, whether you're new in the business or you're seasoned. I mean, there's a lot to be learned from that, Brian. So, I mean, but that was years and years. You didn't just fall into that. That was, blood, sweat, and tears, time frame.
Trial and error, and you had asked earlier about a book, E-Myth Revisited. Okay. It's a very good book about systems and how to replicate yourself and make it so. It talks about the McDonald's and the Wendy's and the Starbucks of the world and how they have a system for everything. Okay. And that's one of the models that I followed, going, okay, we need to do that. And there were people within the Howard Britton Star Power Network that I followed, and then I became one of their stars and helped other people.
That's huge. There's a lot of nuggets in there, so hopefully everybody took notes on that one. That is big, big advice. So, okay, let's tail into something a little trickier than that to give everybody a little bit of a deeper dive or window into who you really are. So, when life is simple, we can kind of skate through no problem. But when challenges hit our way, that's what really separates everybody from the top professionals, the top people in this world, is overcoming those challenges. So Brian, if you wouldn't mind sharing a challenge that you went through in your life that you overcame, you became a stronger man because of it. What was that for you?
When I first started in the business, I went through a divorce.
Okay.
A year into the business, my wife left and left me with a 6-month-old child. I became a single dad when my son was 6 months old. So I had to learn to compartmentalize my days. So early in the morning, getting him up, getting him ready, getting him over to the grandparents or the daycare, work like crazy till 4 o'clock, then from 4 to 7 be a dad and compartmentalize and be 100% present with him. Then from 7 to 8 return calls and follow up on stuff, and then get myself ready and do it again the next day.
Unbelievable.
And so I did that for basically 5 years until I met my current wife.
Okay.
And it's been a lot easier to compartmentalize, but that challenge, and we've had some deaths in our family and stuff like you learn stuff, and you the biggest thing I've learned to do, and I think other people, is you got to compartmentalize no matter how big that challenge is, and sometimes it's hard. No doubt about it, but you got to. I chose to be happy and trust God and work hard and compartmentalize, and it worked.
And that's a character thing when it comes down to it, and it's a mindset thing. And I think you broke it down beautifully. Is a lot of challenges that we deal with, whether it's deaths in the family, divorces, relationships.
Life is a challenge.
He said it. He said it. Everybody.
If you're not challenged, you're not living.
Right. Wow. And that's so true. And so many people they can look at that and say, oh my gosh, a lesser person would have crumbled under that pressure, or they wouldn't have had the systems or the drive, but you did. And again, that's what really puts you into that Titan category as far as I'm concerned, Brian. I mean, I'm serious with that. It means a lot for people out there, is going through it, overcoming it, and constantly understanding that change and challenge is a part of life, but how you think about the positive end of it really
you have two choices. You can beat it, or you can drop it. You can fail, or you can try. And that's part of my background with sports and things. It's always trying to be better. And that's kind of what motivates me.
Okay, there you go. This is perfect. So thanks for sharing that, because I know the challenge is kind of, airing out your laundry. It's not easy.
It's okay.
So I appreciate that. I know everybody else does too. So let's go into a slightly softer question with that. So if you could travel back in time, and you could give young Brian a piece of advice or two, and it could be any time frame through your life, what would you say to your younger self if you could give a piece?
I would say follow a system and follow a mentor. I went 5 years before I found the Sweat Hogs and Floyd Wickman and the Ferry approach.
Okay.
And today there's a lot, there's Brian Buffini, there's the Ferry people, there's some various programs.
Sure.
Admittedly, with internet and things, it's all a little different. But there's mentors who are succeeding.
Right.
Follow it and put in the time. Real estate is great because you get to pick your own hours.
Sure.
But real estate is bad because you get to pick your own hours.
That's a double edge.
And most of the people, and I see it in, over 30 years, you see a lot of people come and go.
Sure.
And it's mainly they don't put in the time. And, I put in still, I work basically I don't work too many weekends anymore, but I work 5 days a week, about 50 hours a week still. Sure. And I choose to.
Right. Well, you're passionate.
Yeah, but when I take off, I take off. But when I'm here to work, I'm here to work. That's why people don't see me out at social places or things like that, because when I'm not working, I'm spending time with my family.
I love that.
It's either family or here.
Yeah. And then that's the balance that you forge through your life, and I think that not only young Brian would appreciate that piece of advice, but everybody out there listening, I think it really resonates and makes sense, is that constant balance that we have. And hey, you're working, do it. And if you're not, make sure that you're having that relaxation time, the recharge time.
You got to have a recharge.
Yeah, I think that's important.
It's very, like, I work out a lot. I teach karate. Karate's a great outlet.
Okay.
Because if I have a bad day, I can go beat the crap out of somebody, and it works out really good. Or I get the crap beat out of me. And then I run, I lift, I do other stuff. But first and foremost, you got to give yourself time.
Sure.
Give yourself some prayer time, some meditation time, some workout. But then come in and work. Most younger. I say younger. Most new realtors, I probably ought to phrase it that way, don't understand the time commitment.
Right. And they think that it's, and I'm not trying to generalize either, because I meet with a lot of professionals throughout my career, and it comes down to it. And some of the newer professionals in the business, they see some TV shows, or they see, they have a buddy that's in the business, they're making six figures.
Well, we've increased our numbers. It's problematic.
Right.
Everybody thought real estate is very easy.
Sure.
And as the 3,000 new realtors who have entered the market over the last 3 years, it's not that easy.
You all know that are watching this. It is not easy.
For even us veterans, it's still hard. We still got to work. And the veterans that are in here in this office and other offices around town, they put their time in.
For sure.
I know they do, because we talk.
I love that. And that's big. Again, advice not just for yourself, but everybody out there watching. I mean, put the time in, put the work in, and you get, essentially, this is the same thing with the gym or a workout or any relationship. It's you get back what you put in.
Correct.
You really do.
Very much so.
So yeah, it's hard work, but it's worth it. I mean, you wouldn't change it.
No,
right, Brian?
no, and some people aren't meant to do it.
Sure.
It's not cut out for everybody. Tooling a buyer around and showing 100 houses and losing on 10 of them, that's not fun. But it is what this market is, and one needs to adapt to that.
Sure.
And I'm a heavy lister, but I'm knocking on more doors than I have in many years, just to make sure I'm getting my share of the listings.
All right. Well, that's awesome. That's big stuff too. So I thank you for sharing that for sure. So let's go into a different question when a portion of feeding your mind, because throughout your career and time frame, I mean, books you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, influencers either on social media or just general coaches. I mean, what do you feed your mind with, Brian? I mean, what are some of your favorites? I know that's a stacked question.
So, kind of today I talk with. I've got a couple peer partners.
Okay.
There's a friend of mine, Bob Waldron. He's a realtor in Los Angeles, Caldwell Banker in Los Angeles. Him and I have been talking for 23 years.
Wow.
Every other week for 23 years.
Literally outside of our marketplace.
Yes, he's out there, and him and I keep each other grounded.
Okay.
And there's a couple other agents around the country that I speak to on monthly basis. In terms of books, the E-Myth I mentioned earlier, even though I'm not Keller Williams, Dave Keller's books on how to grow your business and the 7 levels of success and stuff. Great stuff.
For sure.
My general reading today is more decompression.
Okay.
I enjoy spy novels and spy mysteries, and I read some health and wellness, nutrition type things.
Okay.
More mine's not part of the real estate.
Okay.
It's more decompressing.
Sure, but that's a part of the balance that we were talking about earlier. So that's good, because you've been through it, and there's only so many books you can read and so many podcasts you can listen to. I mean, it's action too, right?
And I read the CRS magazine religiously in the real estate. There are publications that our business provides. I read those religiously.
Perfect.
And just to see what's happening around the country and other places. And I get emails every day like all of you guys do. But it's a good idea to open it up. You get some perspective on what else is going on in the country.
Perfect.
And then in my case, with teaching in some other areas of the country and doing stuff, I get some feels for other areas.
Okay. Which is good, a mix of knowledge and information.
So I get some feels for what's happening in Phoenix or Austin, Texas, or Florida or wherever. Wow. So it works pretty good.
And I think that's, you continuously learning and growing. It hasn't stopped, right? I mean,
not really. I know there's a lot of systems out there, and you, as a new person, if I were to, I'm kind of sidetracking.
Sure. No, this is good.
I got approached from some company in New York that will cold call for me. you know, and they want to charge you all this money. And I can tell you, I've tried most everything out there.
Yeah,
and
sure.
there are a couple programs that you can pay a lot of money and be very successful, but there's a lot of programs you can pay a lot of money and you just spend a lot and receive nothing.
Just burning.
Be careful where you spend your money.
Okay, that's big advice out there too, and you know this, Brian. I mean, you guys are constantly getting phone calls and emails, and here's the next shiny bell, silver bullet. It's continuous work. I mean, every Titan that's been on this series and all the professionals that I've met in my lifetime, it is work. I mean, you're working smarter, not necessarily harder.
For the lead, you better be chasing them.
You have to do it that way. I mean, that's it. So that was big advice just on top of that. So no, thanks for adding that. That was great. So this has been fantastic. A lot of great information here. So one last final question before we wrap all this up for everybody out there. So if you could sum up your brand in a nutshell, you as a man, you as a business professional, by a mantra or a quote you live by, what is that for Brian Maecker?
It's been pretty simple.
Okay.
The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Wow. That is huge.
It's always been that way.
Okay.
If I find, you know, I need something to happen, I'll get on the phones a little harder. I still call 50 to 60 people every single day.
Love it.
I've got a database of about 1,600 folks that are, and I call them 3 and 4 times a year.
That's huge.
So I make that call. And I know what's up in their lives, and that's where the element of caring is. But if you got to make something happen, you got to go door knock. I was door knocking as recently as a month ago in a neighborhood. My sold listings. So even at 30 years into the business, don't be too shy about knocking on a door, making that cold call, following up on the lead.
That's huge. And it really is, it's not luck. You're making your own luck.
Well, harder I work, the luckier I get.
I love that. Everybody, that's a big one. And I'll definitely list all the books and comments that are down below. That way everybody can kind of follow along and feed their mind as well, and then kind of get a feel for you as well, Brian. So thanks so much again for taking the time.
Well, thanks.
I definitely want to officially say you are a real estate titan, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So everybody, thanks so much for your time and attention. Always an absolute pleasure for tuning in. Every single Tuesday and Friday afternoons, a different titan, a different location. So I want to thank you again, and we'll catch you guys on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
Bye-bye.